This might look like just a simple clay jar, but inside it was hiding a technology that was 1,800 years ahead of its time. Whenever someone dropped a coin into the jar, it automatically released the exact amount of wine or holy water. Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about an ancient vending machine in the heart of the Roman Empire, long before the modern ones you see today. But wait a second. How could something like this even exist during the peak of Rome, in an age where electricity wasn't even imagined? When we think of ancient Rome, we usually picture mighty emperors, unstoppable legions, massive aqueducts, and perfectly engineered roads. But behind all the glory and military power, there was also a hidden side. Technology so advanced it still amazes modern scientists. And here's the shocking part. Many of these inventions weren't just experimental ideas. Some were actively used, others were ignored, forgotten, or dismissed as curiosities. And who knows? Maybe that decision actually changed the course of history. In today's journey, we're diving deep into the genius of Roman engineering, from automatic temple doors to self-healing concrete, to inventions so far ahead of their time that, had they been taken seriously, humanity might have entered the Industrial Revolution more than 1,000 years earlier. The genius behind the impossible machines. To understand how Rome reached such an extraordinary level of technology, we need to meet one man in particular, Hero of Alexandria. He wasn't just an inventor, he was an engineer, a mathematician, a visionary. Some even call him the Tony Stark of the Roman world. Although Greek by birth, Hero lived in Alexandria, which was under Roman rule at the time. His works were so groundbreaking that it's almost hard to believe he isn't as famous as Leonardo da Vinci. And here's what's truly fascinating. Many of his ideas survived in manuscripts. His most famous work, Pneumatica, describes machines powered by air, water, and even fire. In other words, he wasn't just building things, he was documenting an entire science centuries before the world was ready to use it. If society had applied Hero's ideas back then, we might have entered the machine age long before steam engines and factories ever came along. The temple doors that opened by themselves. Picture this. A priest approaches the entrance of a massive Roman temple. In front of him stand heavy bronze doors, nearly impossible to move by hand. He lights a flame on the altar nearby, and slowly, without anyone touching them, the doors swing open by themselves. To the people it was a miracle. To the priest it was divine power, but to Hero, it was simply clever engineering. The mechanism worked by heating air, which expanded and pushed water through hidden pipes. The water's movement triggered weights and pulleys, which opened the doors automatically. And when the fire went out, the system reset, and the doors closed again. Think about it. That's basically the ancient version of automatic sliding doors at a shopping mall, except built almost 2,000 years ago. For ordinary Romans, this was more than technology. It was theater. It was faith turned into spectacle. And in a way, that's what made inventions like these both powerful and secretive. They weren't just machines. They were experiences. The steam engine that could have changed history. But perhaps Hero's most incredible invention was the Aeolipile, the world's first steam engine. It was a simple metal sphere with two nozzles. When heated, steam escaped and made the sphere spin. Sounds basic, right? But here's the kicker. That principle is the same one that powered locomotives and steamships centuries later, driving the Industrial Revolution. Now, imagine if the Romans had actually used it. Imagine steam engines powering mills, ships, or even mining equipment 700 years before history says it happened. Could Rome have sparked the Industrial Revolution centuries early? Maybe. But there's one reason it never happened: slaves. The Roman economy depended heavily on cheap slave labor. And when you already have thousands of workers forced to labor for free, why bother investing in machines? This tells us something crucial about technology. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. It needs the right social and economic conditions to thrive. And for Rome, slavery may have delayed human progress for centuries. Concrete that healed itself. Now let's talk about one of Rome's most jaw-dropping secrets: self-healing concrete. While modern concrete often crumbles within decades, Roman structures like aqueducts, amphitheaters, and even the Pantheon have lasted for nearly 2,000 years. The secret? Romans mixed volcanic ash, pumice, sand, and lime in a process known as hot mixing. This left small chunks of lime inside the concrete. When cracks formed, water reacted with those lime particles, creating new minerals that filled the gaps. In other words, the buildings repaired themselves. That's why the Pantheon's dome, the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world, still stands strong today. Modern engineers are still studying this ancient recipe, hoping to build greener, longer-lasting cities. Imagine bridges, skyscrapers, and highways that fix themselves without repairs. That's not just futuristic, it's Roman. Timekeepers, factories, and miniature engineering. Rome's technological genius didn't stop with temples, steam, or concrete. It reached into the flow of time itself, into the scale of massive industry, and even into the delicate world of craftsmanship so small, it's almost unbelievable. The first automatic clock. Let's start with something we all take for granted: time. Today, we glance at our phones, our watches, or even digital billboards to know the hour. But imagine living in a world where time itself was difficult to measure. Sundials worked, sure, but only when the sun was shining. What about cloudy days? What about nighttime? And what about the subtle changes of the seasons, when days grow longer or shorter? Enter Ctesibius, a Greek inventor whose ideas would echo through Roman engineering. He designed one of the world's first automatic water clocks, a system that didn't just measure time, but actually adjusted itself depending on the season. Here's how it worked. Water flowed at a controlled rate from one container to another. As the water level rose, it lifted floats attached to gears, which moved dials or figures that indicated the hours. Ctesibius even accounted for the fact that summer days were longer and winter days were shorter, adjusting the mechanism accordingly. Think about that for a moment. While most civilizations were still watching shadows on a stick, the Romans were inheriting technology that could keep time with gears, floats, and hydraulics. That's the seed of something far greater, the very beginnings of mechanical engineering, the same principles that centuries later would give rise to clock towers, wristwatches, and even the gears inside modern machines. And what's even more striking is the purpose. For Romans, accurate timekeeping wasn't just about convenience, it was essential for religious rituals, military strategy, political meetings, and the complex rhythms of city life. In many ways, having a more precise clock was an advantage of power. So, the next time you check your phone for the time, remember, it's not just a digital display. It's the descendant of an idea that began almost 2,000 years ago in the workshops of inventors like Ctesibius, the world's first factory. But Rome didn't just measure time at mastered scale. In southern France, archaeologists uncovered something astonishing: an enormous flour mill complex built nearly 2,000 years ago. At its heart were 16 massive water wheels, linked together in sequence. Water from a nearby aqueduct powered them all, driving millstones that ground wheat into flour. The numbers are staggering. This single complex could produce around 25 tons of flour every day, enough to feed tens of thousands of people. Now pause and think about what that means. This wasn't a little bakery or a village mill. This was industrial-scale production, a food factory centuries before the Industrial Revolution. Why did they build it? Rome had a problem no other civilization in the ancient world faced: scale. The city of Rome itself had more than 1 million residents. That's a population size that wouldn't be matched by any other European city until London in the 19th century. Feeding such a massive population required more than farms and markets. It required engineering, logistics, and industrial solutions. And this mill complex was the answer. An ancient assembly line designed not for weapons or machines but for bread, the food that symbolized Roman life itself. Imagine the sight: a thunderous row of water wheels spinning day and night, millstones grinding endlessly, sacks of flour being hauled away to bakeries across the empire. Workers coordinated like clockwork, producing food at a scale that rivaled modern factories. It's a glimpse into something we rarely associate with Rome: the birth of mass production. And it shows that the Roman Empire wasn't just about power, it was also about efficiency, logistics, and feeding its people. Miniature engineering, the golden lock. And while Rome built big, it also thought small, very small. In 2023, archaeologists announced the discovery of the tiniest Roman lock ever found. To put it into perspective, it was smaller than the cap of a modern soda bottle, and yet it was fully functional. Made of gold, this tiny lock wasn't just a practical object. It was also a symbol of luxury, wealth, and status. After all, gold isn't exactly the most durable material for security, so why make it? Because sometimes technology isn't only about solving problems, it's also about showing off what's possible. Now stop for a second and really think about this. How do you create something so delicate and precise without magnifying glasses, without lasers, without modern machining tools? This wasn't mass-produced, this was handcrafted. Each groove, each tiny mechanism, shaped by human hands almost 2,000 years ago, It's a level of craftsmanship that blurs the line between utility and art. And here's the fascinating part. Such miniature locks weren't meant for doors or gates. They were often used for small jewelry boxes, perfume containers, or personal chests belonging to the Roman elite. In other words, they weren't just about protection, they were also about display. Think about it. A Roman noblewoman opens her golden box, secured with a lock smaller than a coin. It's not just a container, it's a statement, a message that says, I own technology so advanced it can fit in the palm of my hand. And doesn't that sound familiar? Today we marvel at microchips with billions of transistors, or smartphones that pack entire computers into something pocket-sized. But in their own way, the Romans were already chasing the same dream, condensing human ingenuity into the smallest possible form. That tiny golden lock was, in a sense, the microchip of the ancient world. Not in function, but in symbolism. Proof that for the Romans, engineering had no boundaries, not of size, not of ambition. So in Rome, technology wasn't just monumental or practical, it existed on every scale, from giant factories feeding cities, to water clocks keeping precise time, down to the delicate craftsmanship of locks smaller than a coin. Rome's genius was not just in what it built, but in the range of its imagination, the world's first vending machine. And finally, we circle back to one of Hero's most surprising and visionary creations, the vending machine. Yes, you heard that right. In the 1st century AD, nearly 2,000 years ago, Hero designed a device that worked almost exactly like the vending machines we see everywhere today. Here's how it worked. A worshiper entering a temple would drop a coin into a slot. The coin landed on a small lever, and the weight of it caused the lever to tilt, opening a hidden valve. From that valve poured a carefully measured amount of holy water or sometimes wine directly into a vessel. When the coin slid off the lever, gravity reset the system, closing the valve and preparing it for the next user. Simple, elegant, brilliant. But think about what this meant in the context of the time. Imagine stepping into a sacred temple in Alexandria or Rome. The air smells of incense, chants echo around you. The marble floor gleams. You approach an altar, drop in a coin, and almost like a divine response, the gods reward you with purified water. It wasn't just a machine, it was ritual made mechanical. Technology and faith fused together. And there's another genius element here, practicality. By automating the process, Hero's invention prevented waste. No more pouring too much or too little, no risk of corruption or favoritism from a priest. The system guaranteed fairness, one coin, one measure. Everyone equal before the machine. Now let's jump ahead 1,800 years. London, 1822. The first modern vending machine appears not for food or drinks, but for newspapers. Drop in a coin, and out slides your copy. Soon after, machines for postcards, gum, and cigarettes spread across Europe and the United States. From there, the idea exploded. By the 20th century, vending machines became an everyday part of life, selling everything from coffee to train tickets. And in Japan, the undisputed kingdom of vending machines, you can buy hot meals, umbrellas, fresh flowers, toys, and yes, even religious charms, all from a machine. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The same concept Hero invented for sacred offerings in temples now thrives in a culture where vending machines are practically a way of life. But at its heart, the idea hasn't changed. Quick payment, instant delivery, convenience wrapped in technology, and Hero of Alexandria thought of it first. So next time you grab a soda from a vending machine, take a second to imagine, nearly 2,000 years ago, a Roman stepping into a temple experienced something very similar. Only for them, it wasn't just convenience, it was magic. Rome, a civilization ahead of its time. So let's recap. Automatic temple doors, steam engines, self-healing concrete, precise clocks, massive factories, miniature locks, and even vending machines. All of this built with the limited tools of the ancient world, but limitless creativity. The real lesson here is that knowledge alone isn't enough. It has to be applied. Hero's steam engine could have changed history, but it didn't, because society wasn't ready. And that raises a big question. What inventions today are we dismissing as toys or curiosities? That might actually change the world centuries from now. If you enjoyed this journey into the secrets of ancient Rome, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss what's coming next. We are the ones who remember, the ones who question, the ones who refuse to let history fall silent. And you? Are you ready for Rome's next secret?